So we will get started. I'm just going to run through the outline very quickly, and so you guys will know what's being covered, and then we'll go straight into actually going through a live demo of this stuff. If you haven't used Epic yet, the first thing we'll do is just make sure that you have an account. So we'll create an account. What's really nice is that it actually syncs up with our Google accounts. So that's going to make it very easy. If you are a Google Classroom user, it's going to make it very easy to get your students in there. If you're not a Google Classroom user, or maybe you're a specials teacher or a special education teacher or something like that, you don't really use Google Classroom very often, you use Google Sites more, you can still manually enter students. So we have multiple ways to add students to our classes. So just so that you guys know, Epic is typically free for teachers. So this is something that you're going to be able to use even beyond all of this remote learning stuff. But to send Epic home, parents need to pay for it. Right now, Epic is making home access for students free until June 30th. So parents will be able to allow their students to use Epic at home. Now, again, as I mentioned, Epic is always free for teachers. So you are able to continue to use Epic in your classroom beyond June 30th. So this is maybe an investment in a new tool for your students as the years progress. We'll go into adding students either from Google Classroom or adding them individually. And then we'll look at inviting families. So there is a process to invite a parent so that they can actually access their student's account and access books that you've assigned, or allow them to explore the content and stuff. I have actually been using it with my own kids. So my first grader, his teacher uses it. And as a test student, I signed up my preschooler as my student so that I could see what it looks like from a teacher's perspective as well as a parent's perspective. And I'll tell you, it's been awesome. We really love it in our house. The next thing we'll look at is actually assigning books. So students can absolutely go in and browse the content, and that's fine. But maybe you've got a theme of Pirate Week and you want to give students the option of looking at a bunch of pirate books that would be on grade level or close to maybe where their reading level is. So we can actually assign books to students. And then finally, we'll finish up with quizzes. There are quizzes available in Epic as well. So we'll look at how to search for quizzes as well as how to create our own quizzes. So to get started, I'd like for you guys to just go to getepic.com. If you want to follow along on your own screen, getepic.com is where we're going to go. If you want to just sit back and relax and watch, that's totally fine too. So getepic.com is where we're going to start. When you first get in here, it's going to look like this. And so it'll have a sign up for parents and a sign up for teachers. Now, we have had a few questions about this. If you give access to a parent, they will receive an email, and we'll talk about that part later. But if a parent comes here and does this sign up for 30 days for free, they'll be asked to pay after that 30 days. So we really don't want to encourage that necessarily unless a parent wants to do that. We're going to sign up as teachers and we'll give them access. And then it won't ask them for any credit card information or anything like that. So as an educator, you're going to be signing up. So if you have not signed up for an account yet, you're going to click sign up at the top. You're going to sign up as an educator. And then you'll fill in some of your information. And once I get to the next page, I will have the option to sign up with Google. Now, I have already signed up for an account, so I'm just going to click login at the top. If you're not sure if you've signed up for an account, maybe you did in the past, you don't know, you can always click login, and I'm going to go to students and educators and see if this educator login works for you. So once you've signed up for your account, and if you're going to go back to Epic, you'll just choose that educator login. I'll click continue with Google. And then it's going to sign me into my account. So there's a lot to look at on here. So I'll give you a little tour, and then we'll talk about actually adding your students to this. So over here on the left-hand side, this is going to be just my account settings. If I want login information for students, I'm going to get that here. And then some class settings, things like allowing videos for the students, allowing the students to create their own profiles, what my grade level is, what my reading level system is. So if I click on this, if you have not been in Epic yet, I do at least want to show you what our reading level options are. AR, DRA, F&P, GRL, Lexile, and none or other. So that's just if you would like to use those systems. You can absolutely do that. This second grade is just it's going to maybe curate some of that content for you. That does not mean that the only content that would be available to your students would be second grade material or kindergarten material or fifth grade material. It's going to still allow them to search for certain things. Okay, right in the middle here is going to be just some announcements from Epic itself, as well as some topics that I might want to explore as a second grade teacher will say. And then on the right-hand side, it's going to give me some status updates on my students. So you can see that I have both of my sons are actually in my class. So Johnny read 4 books yesterday, and Tyler read 1 book yesterday, or on April 10th rather. And then finally underneath that, I have recent assignments. So these are assignments that I've given to my children. In this case, it's my children or to my students. And you'll see who then was assigned those things. And then obviously up here at the top, I can see who read them. So now going into my class for my students, I have up at the top here my class, and I've got a class roster. So with this, I've already connected my Google Classroom, but like I mentioned before, we can connect our Google Classrooms so that it's actually going to pull in all of those students automatically for you if you have Google Classroom set up, which is fantastic. So to do that, if you've not done that already, I have on the right-hand side, add students here, and I'm going to click that. And then I can see I have either adding my students manually or importing from Google Classroom. So if you do not have Google Classroom, you're not a Google Classroom user, you're going to start with, let's say, Johnny Margison, and then I'm going to add in the parent email. So I would make sure that you have that information close to you. And so then it'll go to the next one, Tyler Margison. Let's say they're both in my class. And so they both have the same parent email. So I'm able to add both of those students. If I want to import from Google Classroom, I'm just going to click Import Google Classroom. And then it's going to allow me to select my classes. So if I had multiple classes here, I would check which ones I want selected and then choose Import Selected Classes. Once I add those students in there, so you can see down at the bottom here, I have my students. So here's Johnny Margison. Here's that parent email that I added, and it's enabled, which means that the email has been sent to the parents and they've accepted it. Now you'll see Tyler Margison down here. I sent his email to our family email address, and it's still pending. If it's still pending, I have 2 options. I can resend that invite or I can cancel the invite. So I do have some options if a parent says, I didn't get it, or maybe they deleted it. You can always resend that invitation. It's going to go back to their inbox. I want to show you what it looks like when a parent receives that email. So I'm hoping that this will display. Yep, it does. So this is actually what a parent email looks like. So Mrs. Margison would actually just be the teacher's name, is giving you a free digital library during school closures. And then as a parent, I would come in and say, connect to our classroom. This is going to allow me as the parent to put in my email address and choose a password to log into Epic. So this is important because students will not be logging in with their accounts to Epic. Parents will be logging into their accounts. This is helpful though if a parent has multiple students at the same school and all the teachers are using Epic, then instead of 3 logins for this kid or for my children, I've got 1 login and everybody can access their accounts. That's also super helpful. I'm going to pull up my iPad right here. That's really helpful if you've got parents that are going to be using this on a mobile device. Let me stop presenting for just a second. I'm going to hold this up to my webcam. And so you guys can see here on my iPad, I've got 3 students, and I'm able to, when I get into Epic, I'm able to then choose which account we want to log into, which is fantastic. We get the same options if we're going on to the computer. If we're going to log in as a family on the computer, there's one login. Mom directs it, right? Or mom or dad or parent or guardian, whoever it is, they log in, and then all the kids can get to all of their books and everything. All right, back to presenting. So this is what my student side looks like in terms of adding the students. I get them in through Classroom. I make sure I have the parent or guardian email. I'm actually I'm sent an email when the parents accept that invitation. So we are notified when parents accept those invitations, as well as on my Epic page here. You can see I have this remote access status, and I can check to see which parents have accepted it, which ones are pending. Down here all the way at the bottom, you can see, I don't know why I have so many Tyler Margisons, but I have a lot of them. And I did not add a parent email for this student, so they have not gotten an invitation yet. So I do need to make sure that I add that parent email to send that invitation. So maybe you've used Epic this year and now you're ready to set up that parent access. If you go into your account, you should see the option to send an invite, and that's going to allow parents then to sign up for those accounts. As a warning, just like we saw on the home page when we first got to Epic, and it said, parents, sign up here. If a parent downloads the Epic app, and they will see an option to sign up for a parent account. We don't want them to do that because that's going to do that 30-day trial and they're going to ask for a credit card. We want them to link to your account so that they're getting all of that access for free until June 30th. Just in this student area here, or my class area, I just want to show you a few other things, and then we'll look at actually finding books, assigning them, and looking at quizzes. So my class log is going to let me know who was active last, how long it took them to read something, how many pages it was, that kind of stuff, if they finished the book. Student logs is going to give me all of my students, and it's going to give me them individually. So Johnny has finished 4 books. He was last active yesterday. If I have any assignments for my students, I'm going to see how many students were assigned that book and how many students actually completed it. And I can actually go in and say, view progress here. So Tyler was the only one that read the Pete the Cat book. And then quizzes, I have not assigned my children any quizzes yet, but if I had any quizzes assigned here, then I would see those show up. So let's explore some books. So if I come up to the top, I can either go home, which is going to be that dashboard style page. I can go to explore, which is going to give me a few other options for just, I would say, going down the rabbit hole of Epic. If I'm looking for, maybe I'm going to use my Fontes and Pinnell, and I want to do my leveled readers. So my preschooler, maybe he's reading at level C. So I can go into F&P, and then I'm going to come into level C. And now I can see these are the books that I might want to assign to him. So let's say he wants this book about puppies, or I want him to read this book about puppies. So if I hover over it, I see assign here. I can also add this to my library if I'd like to. If I click on the book, it's going to open it as if I were reading the book as a student. It's actually reading to me right now. But it's going to begin that book for me. But I'm able to kind of maybe flip through it if I'd like to, if I want to see what content the student would get. It's going to give me an age range here. It's going to give me the level. I can still come in down here at the bottom and assign it here from the bottom. And then I can also assign it here up at the top left corner. So I'm going to click assign. And then it will give me the option to assign to the entire class. So just mass assign. Or I can assign it just to Johnny. Now, the next time Johnny goes into Epic, whether it be on the computer or on the iPad, he's going to have an area called the mailbox. And the mailbox is going to show him what things his teacher, or his mother in this case, has assigned to him. I can also come up at the top and I can search for things like read to me. So maybe I want the students to listen to books. And so I have all the options here for read to me. There's audio books, there's video, comics, and so on. I can also search for keywords. So let's say pets. Actually, I'll do my example of pirates. So we've been talking about pirates, or we're going to be talking about pirates, or just maybe a theme for the week. Maybe I choose themes for the rest of the year, and all of our epic books then will be added to that theme. I can come up here at the top and I can look at books, videos, read to me. I can also look at collections, which is really nice. And collections are going to be collections that other teachers have put together on pirates, and these are some really great things. So if I click into a collection, I can look at this collection itself. If maybe I want to edit the collection and reassign it to students. So let's say I'm going to edit my collection. And then I want to actually remove some of these books. So I want to remove that book and this book. Okay, so I've got 12 books here for my students, and now I'm going to go through, and up here at the top, I'm going to see that same assign button, and I'm going to assign it to my students. Let's actually just select all of them. And I click assign. And so now they have this entire collection assigned to them that's all surrounding pirates. So maybe I've got weekly collections that go along with our themes. So I'm going to explore now in quizzes. If I search for something like pets, up at the top, what you might notice is that I can narrow it down by reading level or fiction or nonfiction, but I also have a button here to narrow it down by having a quiz. So if I click on quiz, I can then toggle this on, and I only want the books that have a quiz with them. So I'll click inside this book here. And when I click inside that book, as I mentioned before, it's going to first start reading to me, but this is what a student would see if they were reading this book. It's going to highlight the words for them. It's going to play that audio if you want them, if the book has read to me on it. And up at the top left corner where I had assign, and we've already seen that, I had my add favorite or add to a collection here. I also have what looks like 3 question marks. And if I click those 3 question marks, it's going to give me the options to edit the quiz or take the quiz. So if I choose take quiz, this is what the students would see. So I can start the quiz. It's going to ask me some questions related to the book and so on. Let's say though, I want to, I don't know what my screen just did, but refresh here. Let's say I like this book, but I want to edit the quiz. Maybe I don't like all of the questions that I have in there, or I want to add some new questions. So I'm gonna turn that back on. I'm gonna go back to my hamster book. I'm gonna click, in this case now, I'm going to click my 3 question marks, and I'm gonna choose edit quiz. Yes, I want to edit the quiz. And so this will now give me a preview of what the quiz might look like for the students. I also have the option here to add additional questions. So I can add additional questions to this book or edit any of the questions that they do have with this. Let's say though that you found a book and it doesn't have a quiz. So I'm going to try and see if I can find a book without a quiz. All right, so up at the top here, This book does not have a quiz, and I know that because in the top left-hand corner where those 3 question marks are, I know it's probably really tiny on your screen, but there is a red exclamation point on that, which means that this book does not currently have a quiz. So if I click on the quiz, I can actually create my own quiz then, and then be able to publish it for my students so that they can actually take that. So as I assign that book to students, then they will also see that quiz. When a student completes a book, they see a green button that says finish the book, and they also see take the quiz. So they'll see both of those buttons down at the bottom there.